notice to everybody who has joined us. This meeting is being recorded. So thank you very much for joining us for the September round of public input meetings regarding the Pelican Rapids Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. This is the first in our series of 3 meetings in September. The next one will be next Wednesday, the 22nd. And then there's also, that will be at 5 p.m. And then the morning of September 23rd it will be at 10 a.m. So, and I think each of these meetings is probably going to end up slightly different. The highlight of the September 22nd meeting at 5 p.m. is that Kate Martinez is going to be joining us, chair of the park board, and also art teacher at Pelican Rapids Schools. And she will be giving an update on what's happening at the park board and the new trailhead and their plans for a new park plan and connecting the parks. I'm going to do my best this afternoon to cover that material, but it definitely will be better hearing it straight from the source. So if you are able to join us again next week, September 22nd, 5 p.m., you'll be glad you did. So I think what we'll do, I know that Jill has 3 poll questions queued up that are kind of our warm-up poll questions, and then we'll do the presentation, and then there are also some additional poll questions during the presentation itself. So here is the first question. I walk or roll to, and roll in this case means anything with wheels other than a bicycle. So it could be a wheelchair, it could be a scooter, it could be a skateboard, longboard, whatever. And then you've got several choices there as to what your motivation is for walking or rolling, and you're allowed to choose up to 2. So if you can go ahead and choose 2 and hit submit, and we'll see what we got. And Jill will call time. She usually gives people about, I don't know, 60 seconds or something.
Well, I think 3 people have voted, and that's who I'll, oh, maybe one
Sure.
more person. We're missing one person voting. And then for our person on the phone who can't see the poll, I don't think you're not able to see the screen. Just to let you know, the options for why, wondering why folks walk or roll is support health, have fun, get to and from work, socialize, run errands, take care of my mental health, be in nature, and there is an option for other. I'm going to go ahead and end this, and I'll share results.
There you go. And thank you, Jill. So support my health was number 1, which is great. And it looks like second place is a tie. There's a tie for silver between run errands and be in nature. So that's cool. It looks like nobody chose other, but generally speaking during the meeting, if there is an other option and if you choose other, then please type in the chat box what your other was, because we're curious what that is too.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to launch a new poll, and this one's about biking. These questions seem familiar. They are. We used these at the last meeting, but we just wanted to use them as a bit of an icebreaker, get people comfortable with the technology and refresh. So the first question is just in the last 2 weeks, how often did you ride a bike? With choices of 1 to 3 days, 4 to 6 days, 7 to 9 days, 10 or more days, or I did not ride a bike in the last 2 weeks. And then the second question is similar to the first, or the walking question of I bike to and what are the reasons? And the response options are the same. So it's support my health, have fun, get to and from work, socialize, run errands, take care of my mental health, be in nature, or an option for other reasons. And again, I'm reading them out loud since our folks on the phone, you're not able to see them, but if you want to speak up and share what how often you may bike or not, and any motivations, that's okay too.
And if your screen is like my screen, there's a scroll bar on the right side of the poll where you can scroll down to get all the answers to number 2, because they don't seem to all fit on in the box.
You can also, I think you can enlarge the box on
Yeah,
your
you
screen
can.
if you'd like.
That's right. You can maximize the box so you can see the whole thing too.
All right, but we've got everybody's voted that should, and here are the results.
Cool. So in the last 2 weeks, how often did you ride a bike? The winner is 1 to 3 days. Second place is I did not ride a bike in the last 2 weeks. And then for I bike 2, you can choose up to 2 answers. Number 1 is support my health. And then we have a 3-way tie between have fun, get to and from work, and socialize. So cool. Thank you. So I think that we're done with questions for now, right?
Correct. And spoiler alert, we're going to stop throughout Patrick's presentation and have a chance with other poll questions and discussion to get feedback about some of the items. So just so you know what to expect.
Yep. All right, cool. So without further ado, once again, I'm Patrick Hollister with Partnership for Health. With me is Jill Chamberlain with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota Center for Prevention. We're your co-hosts for this meeting. We're working on a bicycle and pedestrian plan for the city of Pelican Rapids. Our goal is to have it completed by the end of 2020. So I put together, Jill and I put together a presentation here to kind of show what the big topics are that are happening right now and what we'd like your input on. So if you go to the next slide. So this is our committee. We formed a committee to help craft the bicycle and pedestrian plan. This was our meeting back in February. This was right before COVID-19 hit Minnesota. So we were able to meet in person. We can't meet in person like this anymore, but we do meet via Zoom nowadays. So next slide, please. This is Kate Martinez, who is going to be a guest speaker when we have this meeting again next week, September 22nd at 5 p.m. And I'm going to cover some of the material now that she will cover, and trust me, she'll do a better job of it than I will. So if you are available September 22nd at 5 p.m., please join us again. And you can hear it right from the park board chair. So next slide, please. So the big excitement or the big news over the last, let's say, 6 weeks is that the Pelican Rapids City Council has designated some city-owned property as the official trailhead for the city of Pelican Rapids. The address of that property happens to be 108 Midway Avenue Northwest. This is a Google map, which Wayne helped me put together. Thank you, Wayne. Showing the general location of it. But if you go to the next slide, now these 3 polygons in red, those are not the exact parcel boundaries. I think Kate made this map and she just used the electronic magic marker or whatever it is, and just drew those 3 shapes just to give people an idea of when we talk about the trailhead property, what exactly are we talking about? It is actually 3 separate parcels, and those aren't the exact lot lines, but they're close. And so the part of the idea is we want to connect those 3 parcels so they can serve as kind of a single trailhead. If you look closely, you'll notice that between the leftmost parcel and the middle parcel, there is a bridge. It's a bridge over the river. And in fact, I think if you go to the next slide, that is a photo of the bridge over the river that connects 2 of the parcels that have now been designated as the official trailhead. Now, the thing about, you might be asking, well, trailhead for what? And the in the short term, it's going to serve as the trailhead for the Pelican Rapids to Perm Trail, which has already been planned and approved, and parts of it are going to start getting constructed pretty soon. It's going to link the city of Pelican Rapids to Maplewood State Park and ultimately to Perm. But this also is going to serve as the trailhead for basically any trail that starts or ends in Pelican Rapids. And just for another example, in the Becker County Trail Master Plan, which Becker County completed last year, they indicate a desire for a future trail link between Pelican Rapids and Detroit Lakes. And so someday when we build that, this will also serve as the trailhead for that trail. Next slide, please. So I included some images of some of the amenities that could be at the trailhead. This is one of those, and we talked about this during the meetings in June also. This is one of those free 24-hour self-service bike maintenance stations. This one happens to be in Breckenridge. Partnership for Health funded this for Breckenridge. This is in Veterans Park, which is along the Highway 75 trail, the trail on the east side of Highway 75 in Breckenridge. It consists of two components. There's the stand and then there's the tire pump. We have about 8 of these around the city of Fergus Falls. Wayne and I live in Fergus Falls, and they're not, the ones in Fergus Falls are not the same brand, they're not the same model, but they're similar in terms of how they function. But I would encourage all of you to go check out the one in Breckenridge. And in fact, Partnership for Health has allocated funding to purchase one of these for the Pelican Rapids Trailhead. And so we hope to get that installed this fall. And it probably will be one of the first amenities that go into the new trailhead. So next slide, please. This photo was taken by Kate Martinez. She and her husband Rudy visited the trailhead for the Central Lakes Trail in Fergus Falls. And they visited, I think, for the first time since this play sculpture was installed. Kate emailed me this photo about 2 months ago, and she loved what she saw. This was funded by a grant from the Minnesota Super Bowl 52 host committee. Some of you may recall when Minnesota hosted Super Bowl 52, there was a big philanthropic effort that accompanied hosting Super Bowl 52. And Fergus Falls got funding for some kind of a project that helps address childhood obesity. And what we finally landed on was this really cool, what we call a play sculpture at the trailhead for the Central Lakes Trail in Fergus Falls. It's supposed to be both play equipment and a piece of art. And I think we succeeded with that. And a lot of people really enjoy this. I think the reason why Kate took this photo and sent it to me is because Kate is interested in perhaps pursuing a Lake Region Arts Council grant for some type of interactive play sculpture also at the Pelican Rapids Trailhead. So I think Kate's really inspired by this, and she wants to pursue something like this for Pelican Rapids. But again, I'd encourage you to go to Fergus Falls and check this out. So next slide, please. Another thing that Fergus Falls has done a lot of recently is artistic bike racks. And Wayne was heavily involved in this project. This was also an arts grant to create these butterfly. We're all standing around a butterfly bike rack, and then behind us is the prairie grass bike rack. Back in, I think it was around 2017, there was a big public awareness campaign in Fergus Falls about the importance of monarch butterflies. It was kind of a year-long theme, and they had a bunch of different events associated with it. And so we, Wayne and some friends of his got a grant to do butterfly-themed bike racks. And so There's one of them right there. But I included this slide because artistic bike racks are certainly something that could also go at the trailhead. So then next slide, please. I threw in a few more photos of different amenities that could be at the trailhead. So on the upper left, I got this photo online. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but this is a drinking fountain for adults, kids, and pets. So check it out. They've got 3 water sources there, and people are enjoying all 3 of those water, or let me say, mammals are enjoying all 3 of those water sources at the moment. I think it's pretty cool. So certainly a drinking fountain is one amenity that could go at the trailhead. On the upper right, I took that photo in Pelican Rapids. Probably a lot of you recognize where that is. A picnic shelter could also be at the trailhead. Bottom left, I also took that photo in Pelican Rapids. You've got one of those in one of your parks in Pelican Rapids. You've got one of those little free libraries where you can take a book for free and donate a book, which is really cool. And then to the right of that is a dog waste station, and to the right of that is a garbage can, of course. And then behind that are restrooms. And then bottom right, I got this photo online. This is stationary exercise equipment, which could also go in a trailhead. So next slide, please. So that brings us to our next poll question.
All right, here we go. Get ready. And I'm going to launch the poll question, which is, if you had $100 to help with the trailhead, would you spend it on, and you can't split your spending, your $100 has to go to everything. But would you spend, and assume restrooms are included, because that's a basic. But would you spend it on play equipment for children, drinking fountain, water station, concession stand, bike racks, bike maintenance station, stationary exercise equipment, car parking lot, or other? Is there something we didn't include? And so for our folks that are just calling in, if you want to voice your opinion, we'll count that in the vote. But for right now, if everybody can pick the one thing that they would prioritize, and anybody has a question, clarifying question.
You can speak up or put it in the chat box. And I would say that if you do choose other, please type what that other is in the chat box.
Yes. All right, seeing 5 votes in. Patrick and I sit out on the voting, just so you know. Feel like
we abstain because we don't want to bias the results.
Yes, all right. Last call.
I think I'll abstain from voting as well. This is Kevin.
All right, I'm sharing results. And bike maintenance station is actually the top getter. And then others vote for drinking fountains, the water station, and car parking.
There you go.
All right.
Cool. So okay.
That was our only question about the trailhead.
Yeah, super. So thank you for that input. So next slide, please. So now I'm still talking about the park board and the park plan and their future vision. So this is a map similar to the previous one you saw, except it's zoomed out a little bit more. So the previous aerial photo that we showed, those 3 parcels that you see on the left were in the previous aerial photo. But now what we've done is we've zoomed out and we're including 2 more parcels on the right. And those are Peterson Park and Sharon Park. And so you've got 5 parcels that are outlined in red. The 3 on the left are the new trailhead. The 2 on the right are existing parks. The reason, and Kate Martinez emailed me this photo. the reason she emailed me this, there's two reasons why she emailed me this photo. One is that the park board is apparently about to embark on a brand new park plan for the city of Pelican Rapids. And so they're looking for input on the park plan. And the second reason is one of the ideas that the park board already has for the park plan is they would like to improve the link between all of these parcels for biking and walking. Now, in fact, even going across Broadway if possible. So right now you've got the famous, very ornate pedestrian bridge between Sharon Park and Peterson Park. Everybody in town knows about that bridge. But what they would like to do is also connect Peterson Park to the trailhead across Broadway. And then they also want to connect the, if you look at the three parcels on the left there, the rightmost of those parcels, right where the muddy, right where it says the muddy, as in the Muddy Moose, they want to connect that parcel to the parcel to the left across First in a way that's more bicycle and pedestrian friendly. And you've already got the two leftmost parcels are already connected by that nice bridge that I showed you. So one of the ideas that the park board has right now, and I don't know who knows if it's feasible engineering wise, but at least they're going to pursue it, is possibly a bike and pedestrian path going under the 59 bridge or the Broadway bridge over the river. So if we go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is the bridge over the river along 59. Imagine a bike and pedestrian trail actually going under that bridge, like above the water, but under the bridge. Now, is there enough room under there to do that? And would that be possible? I don't know, but that's what the park board is thinking right now. And I think that's a really interesting idea. The MnDOT, because MnDOT is reconstructing 59 and 108 within Pelican Rapids city limits, MnDOT has already inspected, MnDOT District 4 has already inspected the bridge. They brought their bridge people up from St. Paul to look at the bridge. They have determined that the bridge itself does not need to be replaced, but the bridge is structurally sound, but the bridge will get redecked. So the surface of the bridge is going to change and the railings are going to change, but the bridge itself won't get replaced. If the bridge was going to be replaced, in theory, the bridge could perhaps be raised a little bit to create more room under the bridge, but the bridge is going to stay the way it is structurally. So is there enough room to go under the bridge for bikes and pedestrians or not? I don't know, but it's an interesting idea and the park board's going to look into that. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is the bridge from the other side. I took this photo 2 weeks ago, and you can see this is just another shot of giving you some kind of an idea of how much space is under that bridge and whether or not it might be possible to run bikes and pedestrians under the bridge. In theory, you could also run the bikes and pedestrians over the bridge or over 59, but if you're talking about a separated pedestrian and bicycle bridge, like that completely clears 59 from above, I think you're running like $1 million on that. So, but we'll see. So next slide, please. So one important note about this bridge, though, is that even though MnDOT District 4 has determined that the bridge itself is not going to get replaced, it's going to get redecked. Redecking, in other words, removing and replacing the surface, does present a huge aesthetic opportunity for Pelican Rapids if Pelican Rapids wants to take that opportunity. And the reason why is because redecking the bridge also involves replacing the railings. So here is, at least at the time this bridge was built, here is a photo of sort of the standard generic MnDOT railing. And if the city says, MnDOT put whatever you want in there as long as it meets standards. We don't really care. You're going to get something similar to this in 2024. I probably should back up just in case anyone on the Zoom call here doesn't know. MnDOT's going to reconstruct 108 and 59 in 2024, and that includes redecking this bridge. So the if the city's not really interested in doing anything above and beyond what you've currently got aesthetically, you're going to get something similar to this. But what MnDOT did was they approached the mayor and Don, the city administrator, and they said, if in 2024 you want, for example, a railing that is more decorative than this, that is more attractive than this, that is more historic than this, or whatever, this is your opportunity to do that. Any cost above and beyond MnDOT's cost for a standard railing would be borne by the city. But if the city's willing to chip in extra money, or if some philanthropic entity within the community is willing to chip in the extra money, you could do something more decorative, more attractive, more historic, more whatever than this. So I think we've got, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, I think we've got a poll question about the bridge. So
We do. Hang on.
sure.
Oh. And that question's up, and it is, I would support a customized bridge deck. I would be willing to support city dollars being spent on the bridge deck, contribute to a community fund for the bridge deck, help organize a community fund for the bridge deck, or I do not support a customized bridge deck.
And when we say customized bridge deck, we are including the potentially replacing that railing with something more aesthetically pleasing. So the question is, how, what do you think about that?
I'll keep it up for about 30 more seconds. All right, and I'm going to end it, and I will share results.
So the winner is support city dollars being spent on the bridge deck, and second place is contribute to a community fund for the bridge deck. And nobody said that they're not interested in a customized bridge deck, so that's great. Cool, thank you. By the way, that specific decision about what the new bridge is going to look like probably won't get finalized until like 2022, maybe. It's a ways off. So this isn't an imminent decision, but we just wanted to get a sense of where people are at on that. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a tale of two loops. So when we had our round of public input meetings back in June on Zoom, one of the comments that we got from some people was, when we are planning bike and pedestrian infrastructure in town, particularly when we're planning trails or multi-use paths that people can both bike and walk on, what people indicated to us in June that they're really interested in our loops. So in other words, they don't want just a linear segment that goes from point A to point B. They want to be able to start at point A, travel a loop by walking or biking, comfortably separated from traffic, and end at point A. And we had, in fact, we had two specific suggestions for loops during the June meetings. And so again, Wayne helped me make these two Google snapshots showing two loops, and we're calling them the small loop and the big loop. This is the small loop. this is north of town, basically, and my starting point here is where the marker is basically where the historic monument is for Pelican Rapids Village. And then basically you start there, you go up 9, north on 9, east on 450th or 430th, I'm sorry, and then you go down on 59 back to where you started. And what I included, if we go to the next slide, a couple weeks ago I went out and took some pictures just to help orient people, jog your memories as to what kinds of visual points of interest are along what we're calling the small loop. So this is the historic monument commemorating the beginning of, I believe, Pelican Rapids Village, as it was called in the 19th century. So if you go to the next slide, Birchwood Golf Course is along the small loop. So I took a photo of that. And then I think if you go to the next slide, so now we're talking about the big loop. And the big loop goes all the way around Prairie Lake. This was another suggestion that came out of the June public input meetings. And so the big loop, as you can see, is 7.4 miles, and Google estimates it takes 10 minutes by car. And once again, you could start at the historic monument, go north on 9, this time go east on 450th Street, and then go south on 59 to get back where you started. So if you go to the next slide. So here is 450th Street facing east, sort of in the agricultural part of the street. As you get further east, you start to see lake homes on the south side. But I took this photo when it's still in the fields. And then I think if you go to the next slide. When you do go south on 59, you encounter the Prairie Lake Public Water Access. So I took a photo of the sign. This is owned and operated by the DNR. And one interesting point about this is that there was MnDOT District 4 at the beginning of the process for planning the reconstruction of 59 and 108. 2 or 3 months ago, they posed the question to this Pelican Rapids City Council. Your concept plan that you did back in 2019 shows a multi-use path from the vicinity of the turkey plant to the boat access, the public water access. Do you want us to build that? Do you, City Council, want us to build that trail segment in 2024? If you do, you have to pay for it, but we're happy to do it. And the council ultimately decided no, partly because of cost and partly because of the DNR and the Prairie Lake Association both discouraged it, partly because at this public water access, the only activity people are supposed to do in the lake is launch or retrieve a boat. Technically, people are not supposed to be swimming, they're not supposed to be fishing, but people do, and they were concerned that if you put that trail segment in there, it would encourage even more people to do things they're not supposed to be doing. So that's ultimately why they decided not to. But even at I watched the Pelican Rapids City Council meeting on Zoom that evening. And even the same evening when they turned down MnDOT's offer to build this segment, the council did also remark that someday they may want to build the segment as part of a larger loop. So if you, Jill, would you be willing to go back a couple slides?
Oh.
So right about where that number 59 is, southeast of Prairie Lake, that's about where that boat access is. And so the segment between where it says Pelican Rapids MN 56572 and that first number 59 going to the northeast, that's where the segment was going to be. And the council turned that down, but the council did comment the same evening that ultimately if it's part of a loop like this, then they might be willing to do it. They just didn't want the segment to end there because they thought that was too much of an open invitation for people to be swimming or doing other things at the dock there that they're not supposed to be doing. So, okay, if you go forward now. So with all that said, we actually have 2 poll questions for you now about the 2 loops.
All right, so question 1, which of the 2 loops north of town would you prefer to have a trail? And it's big loop, small loop. I like both equally. I am not interested in either. And then the second question, which again, you may have to scroll down a little bit to see all the responses. I would like to bike or walk along the loops if, and the conditions would be, there are separate paved trail for people on foot or bike. There was a combination of roads, shoulder, and separate trails. Signage that indicated the loop, but not a separate trail. There were public events to encourage use of the loop. And with both questions, we're asking for 1 response. And you do have to answer both questions and then hit submit. You can't sit one out. I'm sorry. It's not that refined.
They make you answer.
Yeah. All right, I'll keep it open for about 10 more seconds. All right, I'm going to end it. And this is exciting. Here are the results.
All right, so it's a tie for first place between small loop and I like both equally. Cool. And big loop came in second place, and then nobody said they're not interested in either. That's awesome. And then number 2, the winner is, there was separated paved trail for people on foot or on bike. That's first place. And second place is, there was a combination of road, shoulder, and separated trail. Okay, terrific. So people want good infrastructure, and they like the small loop a little bit more than the big loop. So, but they like
Let's
both.
half and half.
Half and half.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's awesome. Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. So next slide. So back in February, when our committee, Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan Committee, was able to meet in person before COVID-19 hit Minnesota, I had people draw on maps, and I digitized those drawings with the help of Apex. And so this is a map, and we're not going to go into this in detail this afternoon, but this is a map of what the committee had suggested for additional bike and pedestrian infrastructure at that time. I included this slide and the next 4 slides in the presentation for reference in case at the end of the presentation here, we'll open it up for question and answer on or comments on any aspect of the bicycle and pedestrian plan anybody wants to ask about or talk about. But I included this slide and the next 4 slides for reference. So this is that same map zoomed in to the northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest. So we can certainly go back to these if anybody's curious about any of this. So next slide, please. So another thing that we did in this planning process was we consulted 2010 US Census data, which is unfortunately the most recent data available to us because the 2020 census data is still being collected, and the 2020 census data will not be available to us until summer of 2021. So 2010 is the most recent we've got. But what we did was we looked at the demographics of Pelican Rapids, and the map on the left is the red area in the map on the left is the area of greatest concentration of Somali residents of Pelican Rapids. And the map on the right the area in the red is the greatest concentration of Latino residents in Pelican Rapids. And the reason why we were curious about this is because health equity is an increasing concern on the part of both Partnership for Health and, I think Jill would agree, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we are particularly interested in, we want to make Pelican Rapids more bicycle and pedestrian friendly for everybody, but we do want to spend some time focusing on certain groups that historically have found it more difficult to safely navigate their neighborhoods biking and walking, not specifically in Pelican Rapids necessarily, but nationwide. And certainly immigrants, people with English as a second language, communities of color are examples of those types of groups. So we wanted to look at where the most Somalis and most Latinos reside and kind of take a look at, are those neighborhoods, how are those neighborhoods doing for bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure? Do they experience a lack of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure in their neighborhoods? So a couple weeks ago, I went out and took some photos in these neighborhoods. So if you go to the next slide, please. So east of 59, there's a townhome development that is simply called the Townhomes of Pelican Rapids. And it's 5 townhome buildings. And this neighborhood corresponds to the area of greatest Somali population concentration in Pelican Rapids. So yes, on the map on the left there, that red area, that red area there in the map on the left is the 5 townhomes. So if you, I think if you go to the next slide. So it turned out when I walked around that neighborhood, and I also walked between that neighborhood and 59, but the question I was most interested in was, I know that a lot of the immigrant population in Pelican Rapids works at the turkey processing plant. And so presumably, a lot of people who live in this townhome development work at the turkey plant. And the question I was investigating was how pedestrian friendly at a minimum and potentially bicycle friendly is getting to 59 for people who live in these townhomes, because presumably they go to 59 first on their way to the turkey plant. And what I discovered was the townhomes are basically 3 blocks from 59, and there's only about half of 1 block worth of sidewalks between 59 and the townhomes. So the photo that you see right now is looking east from 59 along 3rd, which is the street along the south edge of the townhomes. And as you can see on that first block from 59, the sidewalk ends mid-block. And from that point forward, there are no more sidewalks on this street between 59 and the townhomes. And then if you go to the next slide, this is on 5th Avenue Northeast. This is the street that runs along the north side of that townhome development. This is again facing, I guess you could say it's facing southeast, 1 block east of 59. The property that is in the center of this photo is the Spanish-speaking Apostolic Church, which is 1 block east of 59. But if you look at the road there veering off to the left from your vantage point looking at the photo, that road on the left there not only has no sidewalk, basically the sidewalk ends 1 block east of 59 along 5th here. If you look at the road on the left there going off to the east, not only does that road have no sidewalk, but it's not even paved. It becomes gravel 1 block east of 59. And then to your right, the road off to your right, which would be to the south, also has no sidewalk, although it is paved. And so on the left there is no sidewalk basically from that dead end sign for another 2 blocks west to the townhomes. So my investigation into how well served the townhomes are by sidewalks, the short answer is not very. And now I also walked around the the neighborhood that has the greatest concentration of Latinos in town. And I don't have any pictures for you this afternoon of that neighborhood, but it was a very similar situation. Really no sidewalks to speak of in that neighborhood. So next slide, please. So we're coming near the end of the presentation, although not necessarily the end of the meeting, because we certainly do want to open it up for everybody who joined us for any comments, questions, discussion on any topic related to the bicycle and pedestrian plan. But we do have, we're about to hit you with the final poll question. It's about speed limits. So last year, prior to last year, lowering speed limits on local city streets in Minnesota was notoriously difficult. Prior to last year, prior to the action by the state legislature last year, the default speed limit on local city streets all over the state was assumed to be 30 miles an hour and was supposed to be posted as such. And if a city wanted to have a lower speed limit than that, they had to jump through a lot of hoops down in St. Paul in order to get permission to do that. And the easiest scenario by which they could do that was a school zone. But if they wanted to do it outside of a school zone, it was really difficult. What the legislature did last year was they made it easier for a city to lower its speed limit on its own city streets from 30 down to 25, even if it's not in a school zone. And I think Wayne is more familiar with the details of that legislation than I am, but Wayne, you would agree it's a lot easier now, for example, for Pelican Rapids to lower their city street speed limits to 25 than it would have been 2 years ago. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so we have a poll question for you on this very topic. If you go to the next slide.
All right, get ready, everybody. Not so many choices on this one, but do you think traffic speed on city streets is a concern for people to feel safe walking and biking?
And I think what we mean by this question is specifically Pelican Rapids. It's not sort of general for all communities.
Mhm.
We're asking about Pelican Rapids.
All right, I think all that can vote have voted. And this is controversial, get ready.
Oh, here we go.
It's even between yes and no, and we have one not sure.
I'm not seeing it, Jill. Maybe other people are.
Oh,
but...
sorry. I didn't.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Gotcha. So, oh man, we're split down the middle.
Yeah.
It's the not sure, don't know person who gets to break the tie.
Yeah.
But apparently they can't break the tie because they don't know or they're not sure.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's split. This is an interesting issue. I don't think that I just wanted to get a feeling for what people joining the meeting think about this. My guess is this isn't a question that will resolve with finality in 2020, but it's an interesting topic. I did last year when Partnership for Health conducted the public input process for the concept plan for 59 and 108. We did get a lot of comments about speed. So obviously some people are concerned about how fast cars are driving on local streets. So cool, thank you very much.
And I wouldn't mind feedback. When Patrick and I were putting the poll questions together, this one was a slightly harder one. We feel like it's a newer topic versus and so if folks have any feedback for me about the question itself, if there would be a different question you'd be interested in answering about speed, or by all means put that in the chat box or say, but As Patrick mentioned at the beginning, this is always kind of the dress rehearsal meeting because it's the first of 3. So if you have feedback about that question, or actually any of the questions, please let me know.
Yep. I think if you go to the next slide. Yep, that's the end of it. So now I'd like to open it up. Does anyone participating or anyone on the call, whether you're joining us by Zoom or by phone, have any additional comments? Do you want to discuss anything that we covered in the slideshow, or anything at all related to the bicycle and pedestrian plan or to trails? Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas? You're
Patrick,
welcome
this is
to go
Greg
ahead.
with MnDOT.
Yes.
When you were talking about putting the trail underneath the bridge on 59, has anybody considered, is it a possibility to go through that building?
That's an interesting idea. And Jill, would you be able to call up the slideshow again, and let's take a look at one of those images of the bridge. So maybe if you go advance one more. Now, Greg, when you say the building, are you referring to the building to the left of the bridge that we can see here?
Yeah, that you could just tunnel, go through the building and a little tunnel underneath the highway, come out on the other side.
Interesting.
Just an idea that popped
Yeah.
probably not possible, but.
Right. I'm not sure who owns the building. It would be interesting to hear their thoughts on that. But yeah, I don't, somebody might, whoever owns the building might get opportunistic about it and like serve lemonade or something down there when people are passing through. There might be a money-making opportunity there. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I think we'll look into that. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions, comments, ideas, any suggestions? Like Jill mentioned, we've got our next one is 5 p.m. next week, September 22nd, and then our final one is 10 a.m. September 23rd. Does anyone have any, if you've got any suggestions for questions, other questions we should be asking, or anything at all? You can either put it in the chat box or you can unmute and speak up. I think one thing we will do, Jill, I think there probably were people who had difficulty getting in because of the requirement to sign in. So I think we probably should remove that for next week, and that'll make it easier. I think what I will advertise next week's meetings at the beginning of next week, and I will make a note that I'll put in the advertisement for next week's meetings that we have removed the requirement to log into Zoom, and hopefully that'll make it easier for some people. But for those of you who were able to overcome that hurdle, thank you. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for joining us. So I think if people are content, let me make a final request here that please join us next week. Next week, the 22nd at 5 p.m., not only do we get Park Board Chair Kate Martinez in the flesh, or at least in the virtual flesh, but we also get, I think Wayne is going to share some exciting news with us about a grant that West Central Initiative received that has to do with the intersection of art and transportation, particularly active transportation. And that has some very interesting potential implications for Pelican Rapids. So stay tuned for that one. I think we're going to include that topic also both on the 22nd and the 23rd. And so I'm not seeing anything in the chat box. Jill, do you have any parting words of wisdom?
Well, not parting words of wisdom, but Patrick, what are the next steps on the bicycle and pedestrian plan for Pelican Rapids?
Good question. So as I said at the beginning of this meeting, our goal is to get this project wrapped up by the end of calendar year 2020. So working backwards from that, what I intend to do is make a presentation of the bicycle and pedestrian plan to the Pelican Rapids City Council in December. And that means that I'm hoping to have a final round of public input meetings in November. And then similar to these meetings. And then if we work back from November, in October, we're going to have another meeting of our committee to review the input that we got from these 3 meetings and start putting finishing touches on the plan. So that was working backwards chronologically. I'll work forwards chronologically. So basically, we're gonna do these 3 public input meetings in September. We're gonna have another Pelican Rapids Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan Committee meeting in October. We're gonna start to put the finishing touches on the plan. We're gonna have a final round of public input meetings in November, and I'm intending to make a presentation of the final plan to the Pelican Rapids City Council in December. Now, when I present it to the council in December, they may very well have their own revisions they want to make to the plan, and I would certainly respect those. And I think we would make those final revisions, and then I will submit the plan to the city council then in PDF form, perhaps in January. So that's the process as I see it going forward. And Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Well, better late than never, I guess.
Sure. Andrew, unfortunately you missed the presentation, but do you have any comments, questions, concerns about the bicycle and pedestrian plan? Any ideas that you want to throw at us?
No, I've missed a lot, I guess, but it's I guess there's a lot of meetings that kind of get morphed into one thought sometimes, I guess. But, I was wondering on the last street concept meeting I was at, it seemed like they stopped things at 5th Street going south. Is that, and I didn't really speak up. I mean, there's about 22 people on the meeting, and I just figured things were going to go long, and I just kind of left it from there. But I don't know how things overlap, I guess, all the time. But
you are correct. Jill, would it be okay to go back to the slide presentation? And if you could go to the first of those 5 maps that show the aerial view of all of Pelican Rapids. The ones that Apex made for us. I'll explain to everybody what Andrew's referring to. So you can see, this is obviously the aerial view of, hang on a sec, let me, okay. Just a second here, I'm writing some down here. Okay, so you can see Rita's having trouble unmuting. I don't know if Jill, you can help Rita unmute, or if that's yeah, okay. Rita, you look like you're unmuted to us, so
yeah.
Okay. You can see 59 and 108 there in blue, mostly in blue there. What Andrew's referring to there is south of the intersection of 108 and 59. If you, Jill, you have an arrow pointer there. Can you, okay, go south a little bit more, a little bit more to where that big crosswalk is, a little bit more.
Like right here?
No. Yeah, there. So right where Yeah, that's correct, Rita. We can't hear you, so I don't know what, if you've got a,
Yeah,
Rita,
she's not muted.
okay, you're not muted, so we don't know what the issue is, but feel free to type your, okay, maybe the sign in on Zoom is the problem. Feel free to type in any question or comment you have, Rita, in the chat box, and we'll certainly address it. So where Jill Zero was there, that is Fifth. And what Andrew's referring to is there's also, in addition to this process for the bike and pedestrian plan, there's also a process right now for planning specifically for the reconstruction of 59 and 108 in 2024. And the way I usually describe it in a shorthand way, and I admit that I'm being imprecise when I describe it this way, but I always describe it as MnDOT is going to reconstruct 59 and 108 within Pelican Rapids city limits in 2024. That is almost correct. There is a segment of 59 from 5th where Jill Zero is south to the city border that is not getting reconstructed in 2024. And yes, Andrew, you're correct that they're not going to rebuild or reconstruct 59 from 5th Street South in 2024. However, MnDOT District 4 keeps saying that they do need to do that and that they're going to be doing that sometime probably around 2026-ish, I believe. So, but yeah, that's not part of the 2024 project. Let's see if, okay. Oh, terrific. So, Rita, thank you, Rita. Rita entered in, one of the things that Rita and I have been talking about over the last couple of weeks is having separate meetings like the meeting we're having right now, specifically for the Somali and Latino communities. And it sounds like Rita has a lead on a possible meeting with the Somali community. So that's fabulous. Thank you, Rita. We appreciate that. And I'll follow up with Rita later, but thank you, Rita. That's terrific news. We appreciate it. Okay. Anybody else have anything that, questions, comments, ideas, concerns? Okay, well, it is 3:10. So I think if nobody has anything, then I think we could probably call the meeting early. And again, please join us next week on the 22nd at 5 p.m. and if possible, the 23rd, 10 a.m. And once again, the